Here we go. Here we go. So today we are presenting this quick video to help students be able to access the poems that we will be looking at this week. Now, last week on Thursday, we already introduced level 1 of the poetic terms or poetic devices. And so we'll also be adding in a few more terms of poetry at the beginning of class on Monday. But I thought some of you might want to do some pre-reading, so I've prepared this little chart here. This is a schedule for the week, essentially. So you can see the title here, Unraveling the World of Poetry. Hopefully our unit will do this. This week we will be reading and analyzing a number of poems. The chart below clarifies your reading responsibilities. So it's got each of the days at the top. Of course, I'll be posting this video and the chart to our VIU Learns website. So you can see that tomorrow the poet we'll be starting with is William Blake, a famous poet from the Romantics period. And the three poems that I'm expecting you to read tomorrow, and maybe tonight if you have the time, are The Tiger, Poison Tree, and The Lamb. Now, you might be asking yourselves, okay, well, where are these poems? Well, as I kind of highlighted in the lecture on Thursday, we're going to be using the really wonderful website that I've already uploaded. So here is our essentially VIU Learn to access our textbook, right? I've been diligently marking through all of your assignments, so they should be available for you to get the feedback at this point in time through the Dropbox. That's just an update, by the way. Some of you might already know that. But here's the link that will take us to this poetry webpage. Now this webpage right here is going to have all of the poems that you need, so I don't have to upload anything. You can actually read them directly on the internet. That makes it a little bit nicer for you because everything's available right here. And additionally, it's also quite interesting to see that if you wanted to learn about the poet and get some background information, you can also put in the poet's name here, which is not a bad idea to read a little bit about the poet's life to get some context. So there's a picture of this wonderful artist, Blake, who in his own time wasn't enormously recognized in popular culture as a successful poet. He's one of my favorites, and he came right at the beginning of this period of poetry that's called the Romantics period, which occurred right after the French Revolution in Europe. And you can see that, yeah, he lived in that time phase there. And you can see there's an archive here that will take you to an actual site about Blake. And then there's some background information you can read about this poet. And then if you wanted to, well, not if you wanted to find the poem, so we can go back to our main schedule here and find out that the first poem we're looking for is called The Tiger, with kind of an interesting spelling. So then we can type that in there. And you'll see that once we type this in, the poem comes up, and it's going to appear right here. And even if you want, you can have some famous voice actors and poets and literary scholars have done recordings as well. So you can even click and listen to someone read it. Tiger, tiger burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? So you'd read it to kind of match the rhyme scheme there. In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fires of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? Right. So it's such a powerful form, poetry. The fact that the authors are working in such a constrained medium. They have just a few words, a few beats in each line to accomplish their goal. And at the same time, they're trying to incorporate all of those devices that we talked about, things like alliteration and the rhyme scheme between the lines. And quite often, they're trying to even maintain a set number of beats, right? So if we were to analyze even just the first two lines here, in what distant deeps or skies, that's 7 counts. Burnt the fire of thine eyes. That's 6. So he hasn't honored a very strict rhyme count, but there's still some momentum there. Let's see how the next two lines play out. On what wings dare he aspire? So there's 7 again. What the hand dare seize the fire? There's 7 again. So it's 7 count, 6 count, 7 count, 7 count. So there's something interesting going on there. Now you can also notice distant deeps. That's alliteration. Both start with D, right? And then skies, eyes. aspire, fire. So we've got rhyme scheme, right? And on what wings? So there again we have alliteration, and there's a repeat of fire and fire. So there's really some really strategic thinking on the part of the author, and that's one of the things you need to be aware of when you're reading poetry, is that every word is selected with a very high degree of mindfulness, that they've thought about each word and probably gone through many revisions to get to this draft, right? And so you can see that's just a very quick preview. So then if we wanted to read the next poem, you type in the title. And that's actually called A Poison Tree, but here it comes here. So it's just a quick 4-stanza piece. And again, you should read this. And with poetry, you should read each poem at least 2 or 3 times. And in class, I'll actually go over how to set up a document. You could do it in a Word document where you have you make a Word document with 2 columns, and you copy and paste the poem into the left-hand column, and then as you're reading, you use the right-hand column to conduct your analysis of the rhyme scheme, of the line count, the beats within each line, what devices pop out at you, what major themes are there, how does the voice impact you. So these are all things you should be, wow, there's an email, thinking about when you are reading and analyzing. And that will lead us to the ability to have a stronger voice when we go ahead to write an analytical paragraph about each of these poems. Okay, so going back now to the overall schedule for the week. So you can see we're doing Blake on Monday. There are 3 poems to read, so I should fix this here to actually represent the real title. On Tuesday, we move on to Lord Alfred Tennyson, and he's got 3 poems that I really like: Break, 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 The Charge of the Light Brigade, and The Lady of Shalott. I've checked the website to make sure these poems are all available. On Wednesday, we move into 2 additional authors, 2 of my favorites, William Wordsworth and Emily Dickinson. She is a absolutely formidable poet. One of my absolute favorites. She's amazing. And so I've selected 2 poems here. The first one here, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, that's Wordsworth. The second one, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, which is also called number 479. She numbered all of her poems. That's by Dickinson. And then finally, for fun on Thursday, we'll do a poem that I've written. There's also, and we'll compare that to a sonnet by Shakespeare. These are both sonnets. And then at the very end, if there's time, we'll look at Bob Dylan's song, Twist of Fate, and compare it as a form of modern poetry. Okay, so that's a very quick rundown of what the week will look like. A reminder that the website, Poetry Foundation, is available, already uploaded in Module 2A. And all you need to do is type in the title of the poem from this chart, and it should appear without any problems. Then read it 2 times, think about it, take some notes. You could even use that method that I described where you set up the poem in the left-hand column, and in the right-hand column, your analytical notes are added as you read. Okay, so that's a rundown of what we can expect in our quest to unravel the world of poetry.